In today's connection point, we want to welcome a guest that is a good friend of mine. And Rick Crandall is no stranger to the metro area. He hosts the morning show called Cruisin' at 14:30 a.m. for 6 hours every day. You hear Rick's voice. He has been known in the community. He's earned a number of recognitions and awards from the National Association of Broadcasters as well as the Colorado Broadcasters Association. But nowhere does Rick's passion burn the brightest than for his service as the founder of the Colorado Freedom Memorial right here in Aurora, Colorado. So I'm going to ask you to give a rock star welcome to my friend Rick Crandall. Will you do that, please? Welcome, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, buddy. Well, we are looking, Rick, at what to us is fun to watch, but to you has been a life work. This memorial, you're going to explain it to us. When did this vision start? I mean, when does someone wake up and say, I want to put the wall of the name of every Coloradan who has ever lost his life in service to his country? How does that start?
Yeah, and you might think after a night of heavy drinking, which, because this has been a long, long journey. It actually started May 25th, 2000 at the American Cemetery at Omaha Beach in Normandy, France. I was there doing a radio broadcast in honor of Colorado's World War II veterans, there for the D-Day ceremony. And after the broadcast, Diane and I had a chance to go back through the cemetery. It was the end of the day there. The cemetery had closed. There was nobody there but us and 9,358 who had given their lives in service both on D-Day and then in the ensuing campaign through France in World War II. And I had asked the question, there are 88 Coloradans who are buried there, and I had asked the question, how many of them have ever had a visit from home? And was told likely less than 20%. These were 17, 18, 19-year-olds who'd left home, had left here to go there to serve, didn't come home, and had been alone ever since. And I think it was sometime in that moment of being in that cemetery, just the two of us, hearing the wind through the pines and the waves on the beach, I thought, I got to do something to get them home.
So back then, was it, I got to do something, and I love that phrase you used, Rick, we got to bring these boys home. Was it something, or did you actually say, did you have this image in your mind of a wall, or did that come later?
No, that came later. I felt like we needed to do something, and I thought, yeah, big radio star like me, how long can this take? 6, 7 months, we'll be done. 13 years later, we were finally dedicating it.
Wow. One of the things that I love about this memorial, Rick, and it's so unique. It is unique nationally. It is unique regionally. It's unique in the sense that, man, our Aurora, Colorado, is the home of this. Not Denver, not somewhere else, Colorado Springs, but right here. Tell us about some of the things that makes this memorial so unique.
So as you're looking at it over my shoulder, obviously it's glass, right? It's unlike most any other military memorial. It's not stone and regimented and chronological order and alphabetical order. It's very disrupted, like war disrupts lives. It's very chaotic when you go to look at it. The names are not in alphabetical order. We have a directory there you can use to find names, but there's nothing about war that's perfect either. It's a very chaotic event, right? So all of that is represented in the memorial, the first of its kind in the country, and there are 6,123 names. Coloradans killed in action since we became a state, the Spanish-American War through today. There are generals, there are privates, there are civilians, nurses who served in World War I, World War II. So it is unique in that all are honored from all conflicts in one place.
You talk a little bit about, I always say that Rick works as magic. You tell these stories. We took a group out there of our board and some of our leaders, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. You talk about, we don't realize that a lot of these Americans who went overseas did not come home. In other words, there's not a gravesite, and that at least half of the people in this wall, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine, we've all experienced loss. It's been close to home to all of us, and if not yet soon, right? That's part of the deal. But imagine for those Gold Star families whose sons and daughters went to serve their country, were killed in action, and never came home. So there was never a grave to go to grieve. There was never that place to go to be until this arrived. And for over 3,000 of the 6,000 that are on the memorial, this was the first time that there was any place a family could go and see the name and know that they were close.
So you and I we use the phrase wall magic about these unforgettable moments that just happen by themselves.
Yeah.
You've got so many stories. When you think about wall magic, what is one moment that you will never forget?
I told the story earlier at 9 o'clock that my family who's here has heard 1,000,000 times, and they'll go, oh, not that one again. But it's the one story that most, I think, represents what this memorial means. And it actually happened before we even had officially dedicated the memorial. This is our 5th anniversary of this Freedom Memorial being in existence. And in April of 2013, we had a particularly snowy month. As cement trucks were trying to deliver concrete, they were having to put chains on their tires to get up the little hill to the memorial because it was so muddy and snow-packed. And those were the conditions that were forcing the memorial construction to be pushed really close to when we were going to dedicate it. And we had a big construction fence around it to seal it off, and the crew was in working. And our construction foreman, Mike, looked over and he noticed that there was somebody trying to get through an opening about this big in the fence. It was a lady trying to get through. So he told everybody that was working, hang on guys, and he went over and he said, can I help you? And she simply pointed and she said, my brother is there. And Mike thought about it for a minute and he decided, okay, and he said, come on. So he pulled it open a little further so she could get in. And they went over and she said to him, he promised me he would come home. He died in Vietnam and he didn't come back. And I know he's here. So he took her over to where he knew the Vietnam panels were, and they looked, and there was his name, her brother's name, second from the top. And she tried with all her might to reach up to touch his name, and it was just out of her reach. And Mike said, all right, don't tell anybody I ever did this. And he picked this tiny little woman up, lifted her up on the wall in front of the memorial, and it was just enough of a distance that her fingers could meet his name, and she started sobbing. That was the moment she had lived for a very long time, was that chance to reconnect. And Mike said, you know, that's a good enough story as it was. As he was telling me this, he said, but I turned around and all the construction crew was crying. We had used, whenever possible in building the memorial, veterans. We had asked the contractors to use as many veterans as they could. And this was a crew, just happened then, of veterans who were there. And what they saw was just what this memorial they were putting up was going to mean to people, and it touched them. So that's what this place does.
When you named it, Rick, you called it the Colorado Freedom Memorial. And when I hear you talk about freedom, you and I have been involved in the community and different things, your eyes light up, you get inspired, you even sometimes emotional. Why is freedom so important to you that you and your family have spent so many years making this happen?
It's a good question. I keep telling you that. You keep asking me, waiting for me to come up with the correct answer, and sometime I will. I mean, the obvious reasons, surely, and I grew up in a military family, and surely, but when this happened, it took 12 years to raise the almost $1 million we needed to build the memorial, and many of those days I would go speak to small groups of 10, 15, 20 people, and they would have lunches in church basements where I would go, and they would have chicken and Jell-O with weird things in them jiggling for lunch, right? And I would speak to these groups, and they would give me a $10 check when I was done, and then they would call Diane a week later and say, "We made a donation last week. Have you started building the memorial?" And we'd say, that $10 was great. We need $1 million, but you got us closer, right?
Been there, done that.
Right? And so it was in those times I would get really kind of, is this right? And then I stumbled across Romans 13:7 that says, pay, right? Pay what you should pay. If respect, then pay respect. If honor, then pay honor. And I knew we needed to honor. So it was those words that kind of, those words coupled with my family support, coupled with who knows what, that kept us going. But at the end of the day, I couldn't let the fact that they had given such a great gift to us that we couldn't honor it and remember it.
Yeah. A lot of times my relationship, I kind of feel like, when there's this big star doing a concert and they bring in a nobody to open it up, I always get asked to do the invocation when Rick is the MC at a community event. And so I've seen you, Rick, and so many times you make mention about God's role in this without anyone asking, or tell us about that. How do you perceive God's involvement in this? Because you've made reference many times about the Lord giving you strength, the Lord seeing you through, miracles. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, miracles indeed. I think I have the good fortune, maybe not everybody would feel this way, but I think I have the good fortune that I came to my faith later in my life. I committed myself to faith when I was 35 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And 3 months later, I was all of a sudden the morning guy on this radio station that I've now been on 27 years. It was Diane who brought me to faith, and I think when it happens later in your life and you've had some life experience, it means more to you when it happens. Mm-hmm. And so I think I tend to have my eyes a little more open to see when God speaks to you and touches you and directs you, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the only way I can describe it. It's kind of a rugged answer, but that's about the best I have. I just know.
Yeah.
I know when I'm at the Colorado Freedom Memorial that God is there. Gold Star families have told us when they come to the Freedom Memorial to see their loved ones' names, they're more at peace there than at any other time. Mm-hmm. So I guess you just know.
That's another thing that makes this so unique. You said to me a few months ago, you said, Gene, we're never out there where someone might be getting emotional, and God comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not a church, but there's discussion about God all around that memorial. And one of the things that makes it unique is you have a spiritual advisor on the board, which no other memorial that I know of has. And so I think that's really, really neat, and I think that's so powerful that you do that. You want to? Can I have a little fun with you? Can we play a little game?
Oh yeah, we didn't do this earlier, right? Okay. All right.
So I want you to pretend like there's this clock, ding, 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 and I am going to say a couple words, and you have to, in 1 or 2 words, give the first thing that comes to your mind when I talk about the memorial, that subject. Are you ready? You guys think he's ready? Come on, let's hear it. All right, cheer him on. Give him some encouragement.
Yeah.
See, you're used to being the guy doing this to other people. So here's the first category. Ready? Most fun day.
Most fun. Oh, well, 2 words?
Yeah.
But it'll need explanation. Two words. Most fun day.
Ding.
Ding me. Well, I'm going to say elementary school, and See, and that doesn't make any sense, but
When they come and visit, you're
when
talking about.
when the elementary school comes to set up all the lights, because we do luminarias for 3 nights before Christmas, we put 6,000 candles across the field in front of the
Wow.
memorial and light them for 3 nights. And the kids from Indian Ridge Elementary School come set them up, and that's fun. So there
Okay,
you go.
next category.
I'll be quicker.
Day you don't want to repeat.
July 3rd, 2017.
Isn't that your anniversary?
That's the day the memorial was vandalized.
And that, I got to tell you, we were out there taking footage the day before, and when I read that in the newspaper, I was just mortified. Who would do that? They briefly tell it, they destroyed a whole panel.
So July 3rd, 2017, a year ago this week, somebody decided that one of the panels of glass wasn't right and shattered it. And
that's, I mean, we say that, but my involvement with you, that's a big price. What was that price tag?
$42,000.
Yeah.
For one panel of glass, there's 24 of them.
Yeah, that was okay. Next category, day you'll never forget.
May 26, 2013.
And what's that day?
Dedication Day.
5 years ago.
And I cried like a baby because it was there. I could see it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, this is going to be hard for you, but you got to keep it to one. Most meaningful name on the wall, because I've heard you quote the story.
Fred Springstead.
Tell us about Fred.
The first Coloradan killed in action. August 1st, 1898, was a cook in the Spanish-American War. Married his fiancée right as he was walking onto the ship in San Francisco, never saw her again. Got to Manila, served dinner, went to his boss and said, I didn't come all the way here just to cook, I need to go be with the boys. He said, clean up and go up to the front. He did, he reported in the middle of the night. For some reason, he stood up in his foxhole to ask a question and he was killed.
Wow.
The first from Colorado.
Wow. You, the latest addition to the memorial was, I was there on Memorial Day, pretty emotional. I mean, you used this analogy, we got to bring these boys home. And then you realized they were scattered all over Europe, different places of the world. Tell us briefly about the newest addition with the soils.
Yeah, you don't see it in this video. The Colorado Freedom Memorial is a living monument. And the more you're involved with it, the more that becomes clear to you that it keeps asking us to do things. And so we're trying to create there a new way to memorialize, unlike any in the country. A spiritual advisor was one of our first steps to creating a new way to honor. With the names, you can see the fallen. I wanted to appeal to another sense. How do you touch? So we went to the American Battle Monuments Commission that manages 26 American cemeteries overseas, where mainly World War I and World War II veterans are buried. And we asked about bringing soil from cemeteries back to Colorado. Coloradans are buried in 21 of those cemeteries that are located in 8 different foreign countries. So working with them, we identified one cemetery in each of the 8 countries, and we brought soil from those cemeteries home. From the Meuse, Argonne, came soil from the gravesite of John Buckley, who Buckley Air Force Base is named for. From Luxembourg came soil from all 47 of the Colorado graves there, and on it went. So we got the soil. What do you do with it once you have it? We permanently interred it at the memorial this year in 8 new granite pillars, one for each of the countries, and there in the base of it now is soil from those countries. So now you can touch, you can see, you can touch. I have hearing figured out, but I haven't told my wife yet. That'll be several happy hours from now. I'll finally have the nerve to break it to her, but that's
awesome.
Yeah.
And recently I had mentioned to you that I wanted Highpoint to get involved. Our board went there and you kind of did. There was board and families, I want to say, I think there might have been 50 folks there. You gave us a tour. And we wanted to be in part. We wanted to get involved with our hearts, with our hands, and our minds. And I said, Rick, is there something we can give to help a project, and you said, let me think about it a couple days, and then you emailed me back this wonderful idea that our board got excited about, that again is something that is not at another memorial
Correct.
east of the Rockies or
Yeah.
something. Tell us about, we're going to take an offering in the service later to provide something at the memorial that is very unique. Tell us about it.
And when I tell you, hey, let me think about it and get back to you, that means let me ask Diane, and then I'll tell you what she says. And she had a great idea. What she came up with was, have you heard of the Merchant Marine? Many of you heard of the Merchant Marine. You have, right? The Merchant Marine served as civilians in World War II, and they were aboard ships that took cargo from the east coast of the United States to Europe, and they also served aboard ships that defended our coast and some of the shipping lanes. Again, they were civilians. They didn't receive military or veterans benefits for their service, and many were killed serving, and it was on their families to pay for their funerals, and the government didn't give benefits to Merchant Marine well into the 1990s. 50 years after World War II. Merchant Marine also don't get the same recognition. Like if you come to the memorial, you used to see all the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, the Coast Guard flag, and that's the way it is everywhere. Well, we decided it's time for the Marine Corps to be present at the memorial. So when we replaced the damaged panel of glass, we put 14 Coloradans who were killed serving in the Merchant Marine on the new panel. And this year we put up a flagpole and a flag that was looking for a sponsor. And along came Gene and said, how could we help? And that was how. Now I will tell you what's so important about this and how cool it is that you're involved. It's the only public memorial west of the Mississippi, and we think probably west of Philadelphia, that has the Merchant Marine flag on public permanent display with the other service academies. And let me tell you, if you ever go to the Merchant Marine Academy for a tour and you tell them that you'll get a VIP tour out there, I'll tell you. They think we're pretty special out here, so
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Well, Rick, I thank you for being here. I know it's a holiday weekend, and you could have been a lot of places with your family. Rick's family is right down here, I think, in the third row. This whole family has done an amazing job. Let them know how much you appreciate them. Won't you do that? And one of the things I want to do, Rick, is I want to thank you. And we have a phrase here at Highpoint that we try to use, and the phrase is become the solution. This culture is full of people that are dividing, blaming, and we want to partner with people that are bringing people together in the city and making it a better place to live. And I want to thank you, because there's a lot of folks, when it comes to war, memorials, it gets controversial, there's a lot of blame, but man, you have brought something that crosses over boundaries of battles, it crosses over boundaries of branches of service, generations, and you have helped to make Aurora a better place to live. And we're thrilled to partner with you. I'm so excited. I'm hoping we get everything we need to make this big flagpole possible. But will you let Rick Crandall know how much you appreciate him and how much we enjoy? Thank you, Rick.